up, everyone? Welcome to Minorly Important, the podcast where we talk about minor league sports. I'm your host, Kevin Marlowe, joined here by my co-host, Ryan Baker. You're back, bud. How's it going?
Hey, it's great to be back. Glad we're doing this on a Saturday. As a lot of you know, it's Friday Night Lights here in northern Indiana, so I'm busy on Fridays broadcasting the DeKalb Baron football games.
Very nice. Well, then we're also joined here by another DeKalb Baron. Colin, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, Kevin. Just ready to get this show on the road. Another Friday that we get to talk about, or another Saturday, sorry, I'm used to us doing this on Saturday, that we get to talk about minor league sports and all the fashion and glory.
Nice. All right. And then we're also joined by none other than Dylan Little. Dylan, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? Just living life. Had kids in preschool now, so that's fun. Unfortunately, they were in there for 2 days and got us all sick, so I'm still in the upswing. So if I sound nasally, I apologize. But yeah, man, how are you? How are things?
I'm doing good. Busy week. Like I said on the last podcast, we are in the thick of back to school season. I work in rentals for band and orchestra, so yeah. But we are joined here tonight by Dan Vance, the former public relations and social media director for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, now the Noblesville Boom. Dan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
So, Dan, we had the pleasure of working together when we worked with the Mad Ants. You were nothing but great to us. We thank you for all of that. But how did you get to that position? How did you get to being the director of public relations and social media for the Mad Ants?
Yeah, so I spent most of my career before that in the journalism world. I was no longer in that world anymore after I left the News Sentinel when that newspaper closed down. And so a colleague of mine from the News Sentinel, Reggie Hayes, actually told me about it. He had some people reach out to him to see if he knew anybody that would be good for the role. We were talking, so we're like February 2020. So middle of the season, Ryan Stevens, who was the media relations manager before me with the Mad Ants, had moved down to the Fever in Indy. So they were looking for somebody quick. I was working purely as a freelance journalist at that point. And so jumped at the opportunity, kind of combined love of basketball, and then the PR side of things is it's similar to journalism, just the other side of it. So got the opportunity to join the team in February of 2020, late in that season.
What a year.
Yeah.
What a year. What a time. So I had about 3 weeks in with the team before COVID hit. So it was an interesting journey from the beginning.
Yeah. Remembering back to that year, it's just like I remember getting the email right before our season closer of that, like, yep, no party, no game, no nothing. How did you have to handle that as like posting that to all the fans? Like, what were those meetings and like planning and all of that like?
For the most part, the Pacers handled a lot of the communication because it was everybody. It incorporated the Indiana Pacers season, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So it was stressful. The night that we found out, it was actually just after a road game at Motor City, and so just getting people in line, talking with Tim Ballman, who was our team president, talking with Chrissy Myers and Wes Kaminsky down in Indy, who do PR for the Pacers, and just kind of getting everything aligned and what the communication was. It wasn't too much of a heavy lift for me, but in the moment, 3 weeks into this job, this career, new to professional sports, new to the PR side of things, it was a stressful few days for sure.
I bet. So with that, you were in the bubble then, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that like? What was the bubble like?
It was torturous at times. I always tell everybody, I'm glad I did it. Thankful that I never have to do it again. Hopefully, unless the world goes crazy and my career goes crazy. But
Right.
it was, you were in a room all the time. If you went outside your room, you had to have a mask on, even if you were outside walking. You couldn't have anybody in your room. A couple of the Iowa Wolves had players get suspended for being in each other's rooms. So it was it was basketball only. We left our rooms to eat, for practice, for games. Obviously, you're on the Disney resort. You're in Orlando in February. I think Fort Wayne got a lot of snow while I
Yeah,
was
we did.
gone.
Fun.
So yeah, so a week quarantining in Indianapolis, and then 6 weeks at the Disney resort, the Coronado Springs resort in Orlando, and then we played at the ESPN Wildwood of Sports. So it was such a unique thing. And for me, I think I had 3 home games before COVID shut the world down. So that was really the start of my career with the Mad Ants. So it was very different, and I think it was something that benefited me tremendously because I was so connected with the basketball side of things, the players, the coaches, because nobody from the front office, who I still didn't really know that well, were down there. So Tom Hankins had taken over as coach.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody up in Fort Wayne was used to Steve Gansey, so I was able to kind of have that good inroad with Tom early that I think benefited us through later years back in Fort Wayne and in Indianapolis. So it was a very unique situation, but got to know those guys on a good level, and I think that developed how I related to players going forward. And I think that was why, from my perspective, the social media and the media relations side, things down to fan autograph sessions, everything that I did with the team, I think that establishing the ability to have a rapport with players out the gate in the bubble really made all of that a lot more successful later on when we were out of the bubble.
Yeah. No, I remember we managed our social media from home watching the games and trying to do like our chants in the middle of that. And so that whole season was just crazy of how trying to keep us all involved in some way or another. I thought Pacers did a good job of helping us out with that. But what was one of the fun moments of the bubble? Like, what would you say?
I think that the fact that the players took it at face value. Look, it wasn't like the NBA bubble. It was 6 weeks. It was 15 games unless you made the playoffs. And so they all knew that they had a unique opportunity. Not every G League team even went to the bubble, so they knew they had a unique opportunity. But they also enjoyed it. I would say for me, my most fun was being around O'Shea Brissett and Devin Robinson.
Hmm.
They were just two peas in a pod. They played for Raptors 905 together. They knew each other very well, even from my college, I believe. And they were just like goofy. The way they played off of each other in games. When we're at the resort, we're outside, they have cornhole boards, you're doing the whole thing there. The two of them were just phenomenal. And I think they set the tone for everybody else. Daxter Miles Jr. was another guy who just kept things lighthearted and at face value over there. So to me, that was the most fun, was being around those guys who were like, okay, let's have some fun with it. Dax wore a satchel, we'll call it that, around. So the training staff actually ordered a T-shirt that looked like Alan from the Hangover's T-shirt that he wore.
Nice.
Yeah.
And let Dax borrow a pair of their gray pants. So he got on the bus one day, there's no fanfare of, getting on and off the bus type of pictures like you see now, or like arrival pictures, because it's just, the 20 people who are going from the resort to the game getting on a bus together. But Dax strolls up full Allen garbs, got the satchel on, and so I think that those were some of the best moments where these guys just took it at face value and wanted to have fun with it and knew when to dive in, but also didn't want it to be a boring situation any more than it could be.
Were there
Yeah.
Skittles in the satchel?
I didn't ask
That's
him.
important.
Probably. You never. Dax was such a and I don't know, Kevin, how much you got to know Dax. He's
Yeah.
came in during the 2019-20 season,
Yeah.
shortly before COVID, but Dax was a character. So I don't know what was in that satchel. I'll tell you another quick one. He caught his first ever fish while we were there, and he was out.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
he and Devin Robinson were fishing, and he caught his fish and had no idea what to do with it. Just kind of drug it up onto the concrete, and Devin had to take care of it from there. But yeah, just great personalities, I think, is the standout for me in the bubble.
Was it catch and release, or did he?
Yeah, we let him go. It's actually, I feel like I have so many Daxter Miles stories. Dax had salmon sent to him from Baltimore, from Maryland, where he's from. So what he did with that salmon, I'm not sure. There was nowhere in our rooms to cook anything. The fridge was not very big. I don't know what he did with the salmon, but he had it shipped to the bubble. So that was interesting. And then one more thing, we don't talk about the bubble the whole time, but right after the bubble, the day after we finished, Cassius Stanley flew to Atlanta to be in the NBA dunk contest on All-Star Weekend.
Nice.
And so we found out before, I think it was our game against Salt Lake City, that he was going to do it. He talked to me and Brian Levy, who was the general manager at the time, and let us know he was going to do it. I get back to my room, ready to call the Pacers and David Benner and talk to him and be like, okay, how do we want to deal with this announcement? Because he's a Pacers two-way player, but you guys don't have him. I have him. And before I could make that call, I got online and saw that Woj had already tweeted about it. And then that was kind of a realistic moment of, oh, okay, I have to deal with Woj bombs in this job. And so it was interesting. And then, we got to spend a lot of time with Cassius in the gym, watching and then filming behind the scenes of what it takes to build up to a dunk contest. He had a dunk coach because he was in the bubble. He was just on a phone, but able to capture that stuff. And he worked with Chris Taylor, who was the assistant GM, Isaac Jenkins, who was an assistant coach, and Brandon Pinthony, who was our strength and conditioning coordinator. And just like stuff you never expect to do to get bouncy. That was the term they kept using. Got to get him bouncy. So to be able to see behind the scenes of that, the dunks that he wanted to do but couldn't pull off, enough of the time to feel good enough to do them in the contest, to see him pull out the dunk that he did, that anybody who was around probably felt he got robbed on his score on. It was a really interesting experience with Cash, and especially as a Duke fan that I am, to be able to get to know him was really cool in that way.
That's awesome. Dylan, I see you shaking your head down there. Dylan is a Kentucky fan, so...
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Hey, you know what? Oscar Sheveway is one of my favorite people I worked with my time with the Mad Ants. So no hate on Kentucky there.
For sure.
So, moving from the bubble to the Coliseum after that, but still with a lot of COVID restrictions, what was that like? What was the differences, and like how did that go for you?
Yeah, it was very different, and then there was just a lot of planning that had to go into that. Obviously, you're dealing with these COVID restrictions. You're dealing with a 15th anniversary season, so we had a lot of planning to go into that, and then not being able to do a 15th anniversary season like we would want to. Obviously the 10th anniversary season was before me, but it was done really well, big blowout season. So we couldn't really do the 15th the way we wanted to because of the COVID restrictions, because of a variety of things. So there was so much planning. I tell you, we sat down a lot as a staff, and for me it was interesting because I didn't know our front office staff very well. I had gotten to know Tim Ballman obviously very well, more than anybody. Cam Smolinski, who I worked with closely the entire time, even in the bubble, I got to know very well. Our VP had just left the organization to go somewhere else, Brian Stein. So it was a lot of people taking on new and unique roles and really just rebuilding the front office brand, honestly.
Yeah. No, speaking of the 10th anniversary, we did get these really cool 10th anniversary rings.
You did, yeah.
And go ahead.
And that was one of the hard parts for us in celebrating the 15th anniversary, is we did have some 15th anniversary items, but shipping and all of that kind of stuff was so unreliable that it was difficult to even do some of the really cool stuff like a ring. It just wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, no, the funny story, and I think I've told this on this podcast before, me and at that time the other assistant director of the drummers, we went to a Pacers game, and we had just gotten these, so we had them with us to show off. Yeah, Colin, you got yours. And the guards at that point was Gamebridge, saw the rings that we put in the metal detector tray, and we're like, oh my gosh, they have rings. They must be important. Get them through quick, especially since we had suite tickets at that point. But yeah, no. So with that, you've gotten to work with some really, really cool players and some cool moments. What are some of like your favorite stories of players you've gotten to work with?
Yeah, Justin Anderson was almost all of my favorite stories about the Mad Ants revolve around Justin Anderson.
He was a character for
Just
sure.
and I tell you this as a basketball fan, and then on the PR end, when we sign players, I know we're getting players sometimes rather in advance of it being public knowledge. I look them up. Devin Robinson was one in the bubble I had to look up. Justin Anderson, I knew of, and I was a Duke fan. He was a UVA guy, so I knew who Justin Anderson was. But when you do that, you also know about troubles they've had, preconceived notions about them. And Justin, from the beginning, he was at that year he joined the team. He was actually at the office for the G League draft. Is not like an NBA draft. It's just a bunch of guys in a conference room on a computer connected to the rest of the league who are doing the same thing. But Justin was there for the draft that year, and from the beginning, he was so involved and dynamic. And anything I asked of Justin Anderson, he was willing to do. And so so many great stories with him, obviously on the court. You guys got to see it. Like Justin Anderson was so much fun to watch.
So much.
He was the same person all the time. He loved the fans. He loved the experiences. He was one, when they would come to Fort Wayne, obviously during the split seasons, they still lived in Indianapolis as players. So they would come up here for games and be here for a couple of days. And Justin and I would, go out. He was a big, he loved birria tacos. So,
Yes.
getting him good taco places in town. I remember going to Tequila on West Jefferson when it first opened up and going to hang out with him. And just, he was so dynamic as a personality that it was no wonder why people just flocked to him. Another one for me is time with Gabe York, and especially for Gabe was the last season of Fort Wayne. We were part of the Amazon documentary, Destination cool. NBA. And so, Gabe was obviously the featured guy on that. I actually spent a lot of time with Trevelyan Queen as well, because everything that, if you watch that documentary that they have on Gabe, they have the same stuff from TQ. They just ultimately decided to go with one guy. So that whole experience with the Amazon documentary was great. David Check and Brian Robinson, who put that together with the Religion of Sports. It was such a phenomenal experience. But to be able to experience some real raw moments with Gabe, raw emotional moments. They filmed at the Winter Showcase that year. Gabe was incredibly sick. I think lost something like 11, 12 pounds during the 6 days we were in Vegas for that. And so it was very raw, very raw emotional moments in his hotel room, their big sit-down interview they did with him. I wish that the series originally was supposed to be a series and not just a 2-hour documentary. I wish it had been longer to see the stuff that they filmed with Gabe that didn't make the air. And so those kind of moments where the players were just really real and vivid. And that's why I said that it's my favorite memories of the bubble. It's not necessarily on-court stuff. They were just such real, vivid human beings. Pedro Bradshaw's jersey right behind me, another guy that went above and beyond. So I think for me, in that role of, hey, I need to tell your guys' stories too. This is the G League. People aren't running to you for stories. They're running to me for stories. So it's a lot about their branding and telling the stories and being able to have a unique mixture of a guy like Gabe, who's been around but hadn't been in the G League for a while. A guy like Justin, who's an NBA level talent who probably didn't need to tell his story, or a guy like Pedro, who's just up and coming. Those guys being so active, being reliable. Hey, we're having a sneakerhead contest with the Allen County Public Library. I need you guys to be involved. And, Jermaine Samuels Jr. and Pedro ended up voting and picking the winning design for that and doing a video. And they were also such likable human beings. And I think that's something that gets lost in pro sports. And then when you look at minor league sports, the ability to get to see that on a different level, like, you guys, even as drummers, had to have seen how dynamic of personalities that a lot of those guys had.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that gets lost in the NBA, that gets lost in Major League Baseball, that you get to see more in minor league sports. And especially once we got through the COVID restrictions, everybody was able to start interacting with each other. I think that was huge.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember Justin Anderson, anytime he made a big dunk, knew, and I've said this before, knew we had a groove for big moments, and he would look at us, go like this, and make that sound or that motion. And I mean, the way that the players would interact with us even was a good thing. I mean, it was always positive with our own players. It wasn't always positive with the opposing players.
Yeah,
which is the best part of the job.
Amen.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, you guys got to be down there and experience the how the G League is, and minor league sports are like that, but the G League is really unique. And there's a lot of chatter, between players, chatter between coaches sometimes, and it does really make it a lot more fun. That those guys are so active and emotional sometimes, but I think that you put a little trash talk in there, it makes everything a little more fun.
That's yeah.
Dylan actually got a coach to break the clipboard.
That I did.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you remember when the Mad Ants broke the G League comeback record?
I do. It was right before I started, but
Yep.
I remember that game very well.
So Dylan and I were really giving it to the Charge, and at one point Dylan said something like, "I hope Dylan wasn't it? I hope somebody on the bench knows the Heimlich because this looks like a choke."
Something like that, to that effect.
And the coach just took it and just
broke it over his knee.
go flying everywhere. And then
amazing.
Dylan, you had some other smart aleck remark about that of like that wasn't very adult or mature or something like that, and he did not take that one well either.
Nope.
So
he just sat down, didn't he?
Well, he muttered something. So stuff that's not appropriate.
Yeah,
Right,
bad
yeah.
words.
So-
I'm
Bad
sure.
words.
I'm
Yes.
sure.
Oh, but it was worth it 100%.
We also got two players from the Herd fined, I believe.
Uh-huh.
At least that's what I was told.
Told me to suck his, you know what, and straight up. Like, hey, you can't say that.
You can't do that. No, you can't do that.
So,
Yes.
there were a lot of fun times, and
Sure.
there is one story that you told me of one particular player whose dad may or may not be an NBA Hall of Famer. You should tell us some of those stories.
Oh yeah. So if it's the one I'm thinking of, I mean it's one I tell a lot of people. So we're in Vegas for the Winter Showcase, and I don't know, we're probably hour and a half before game time. You know, we're at the venue getting ready to play there at the Mandalay, and my phone rings and it just says Spokane, Washington. I don't know anybody in Spokane, but it's an hour before the game, so I should answer my phone. And I answer my phone, as I always do when I don't know a number, this is Dan. And the guy on the other side says, "Hey Dan, this is John Stockton."
What?
Okay, cool.
Well, hello.
Nice.
Okay. I'm like, "What can I do for you?" And he's like, David Stockton was playing for us at the time, told me to get a hold of you for tickets. Now, we're at the Winter Showcase. There's no tickets. That's not a thing. Teams get like 10 wristbands for guests for the entire time. That's it. And I'm like, oh, he's like, I'm out front. Oh. So I get out front and get that taken care of. And I go back and I go up to David to David. And I was like, you should let me know
Yeah.
if your Hall of Fame father is going to call me from his flip phone. I want to point that out. He had a flip phone. And so it was great. John was always great to deal with. He came to Fort Wayne for a game. He was in Indy for a game. We got to see him when we played in Salt Lake City that year.
That's another
which was
good story.
Yeah, another good one. Again, he hits me up for tickets. I'm like, at that point, we played in Vivint, so we played in the Utah Jazz Arena. And I'm like, there's a statue of you out front. I don't.
So they're not turning you away.
Yeah, right.
I need to get you tickets. You have a retired jersey number hanging up. You have a USA Basketball jersey banner hanging up. I think it'll be all right. But I got him his tickets. Then come to find out after the game, he leaves with David and Justin Anderson, and they leave out back where the bus is, and they get into John's car that's out back. And I'm like, "Why do you need tickets? You park out back." Turns out that's his parking spot. Like, that is John Stockton's
That's
parking
his
spot
parking
at
spot.
the arena. And
But
I'm like,
he-
I don't.
But he asked for tickets.
Yeah, but John was always great. Even when he was in Fort Wayne, he came and I said, we have a box back here behind the bench. Do you want to sit in the box? We'll make sure there's a security guard. Nobody messes with you. And he didn't want to. Wanted to sit in the crowd like a normal person. Not too many people came up to him, but he was great with everybody who did. And it just he was a really down to earth guy. And for a guy
For sure.
who's done what John Stockton's done, was interesting. Yeah, great time with him, and David was another good guy. Yeah, but I was with the team for 4.5 years, and I could stand here and name 100 guys that were great to work with. David was another one that was always great. David always supported Fort Wayne businesses that sponsored us as a team, and I always thought that was a really great thing for him to be able to do. As a guy who grew up well off, and a guy who was away from his wife and kids, he still wanted to give back to the organization any way he could, and I always loved that about David Stockton.
For sure.
Be honest. When you figured out it was him, when he called you the first time, did it take you like a second to realize who you were talking to? Yeah.
Oh yeah, just the process. Like, why would and through this gig, I've been able to meet some really famous people. Right after the bubble, I actually went to NBA Summer League and did PR for the Pacers for 12 days. So I got to meet some great people then. I met, Jerry West. I met Karl Anthony Towns. That was the first time I really got to know Miles Turner. But John Stockton. I'm not even. I wasn't a Jazz fan. I wasn't a John Stockton fan, but it's John Stockton. He's arguably the best point guard ever. And he's calling my cell phone. And so, yeah, it took a minute to process. It sometimes still does, when people ask me now, what's the most famous number in your phone? I pull up John Stockton's number.
So yeah, that's definitely a number you save immediately.
Yep.
You're like, I need to know this person.
No, that was.
And if he has a flip phone, he's probably not changing that number. It's probably the same number.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never need it, but if I have it.
You have it.
I have it.
And he still has yours.
Probably.
I remember you telling me that story when we were working that event at Parkview Field, where we got to the Larry O'Brien was there for All-Star Week, and I about lost it with that. Like the John Stockton stories. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, like going, "Oh, John's short." I didn't realize how tall he actually was. But as a kid, you look at him compared to everybody else, and you're like, "Oh, maybe I can play in the NBA."
Yeah.
Like, no. But
No.
like, it was. I remember going up to wish. I think it was CT's birthday, the game he was there, and I remember walking up to wish him, and I didn't even realize it was John standing next to him. He was just sitting there with a hat on and glasses, looked like a normal person. And Chris goes, "Hey, Kev, this is John Stockton," and I'm like, "Oh, hi, John,
Sure.
Nice to meet you."
Sure, yeah. Plaid shirt, probably.
Yep,
Just looked like
yeah.
everybody else. Khaki pants.
Yep.
Just,
And he was
Crazy.
very nice. And I kept it professional on the outside. In the inside, I'm like, "Oh, that's John Stockton."
I do have a picture with him. It was one of, professional. I get it. Which was always hard. But I do have a picture with John Stockton. He's one of the few people I met during my time that was no name that I got a picture with him. And then the last year when we were the Indiana Mad Ants, that I was with the team, we were in Orlando, and Terrence Ross, who used to play for the Toronto Raptors, won a dunk contest for them, was on the broadcast that night for the Orlando organization. And he's one of my son's favorite players. Grew up a Raptors fan, loved Terrence Ross. So I have a picture with him too, but that was more so I could rub it in later.
Yeah, figured.
Awesome. So what would your day be like for that job, for being the PR director? Like, how long was your day? And like, what did it all involve?
Never the same. Any day of the week. Game days were probably the most consistent. Those were usually, I would say I got to the arena. It always obviously depended on what time we played, but if say it was a night game, a traditional night game, I was probably at the arena by 10, 11 a.m. Get out of there hour and a half after the game ended. A lot of times, so 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. Long days, real long days. And a lot of that was, I ran the stat crew in Fort Wayne, and then in Indy as well. So, but in Fort Wayne, I had to get all that set up. I was kind of that IT guy too. So, me and Cam Smolinski trying not to run into each other as he's laying cables to the broadcast and I'm getting the table set up with all the computers and everything for stats. So that was a lot of the early day dealing with the league. There's a lot of setup to make sure that those are calibrated right. You wouldn't believe the amount of errors and issues we had just with stat computers and as a stat crew, and dealing with the league with that basically all day, and then helping with the regular setup, putting the tarps up over the seats if it was a giveaway night, helping with those out front, getting the front set up where everybody came in, and then those big nights, the gold outs, the rally towels, the tediousness of placing one of those on every seat. And so that was a lot of it. And then, going sometimes, Kevin, you were there in those pregame meetings when I could stop in with you guys, with the cheerleaders, with PA, with everybody, and being able to stop in there, especially as we got into those last couple of years. And I worked a lot closer with Allison Link, who helped get all that stuff together and kind of ran the show on game day as far as the production. So basically doing that, supporting her, supporting Cam and everything he was doing with the broadcast. And then once the players were there, it just kind of depended on the night. Sometimes we had some media, some meet and greets beforehand. We would host. I know we hosted, like, for example, when Eli Brooks was on the team, we hosted a Michigan alumni group. So kind of in a way acting as player relations, even though the Mad Ants had a player relations person, Jason Smith, who's still with the team and great. She wasn't in Fort Wayne. So when they were in Fort Wayne, there was definitely some player relation type of jobs to take care of. So, stayed busy during the game, sometimes taking pictures, sometimes doing video, working with whoever we had doing that if I wasn't doing it. Never sitting down, still making sure the stats crew were good. Computers go out of paper, the toner's done, making sure kind of just floating around and trying to help put out as many fires as I could. And that's, I think, the great thing about what a lot of us did, that didn't have, our sales staff that didn't necessarily have a game day, once the game started, job, was everybody was able to wear so many hats. And we had such a great crew in that front office that I think that was the most fun about game days. But it was never the same, never consistent. But I think that's what made it so fun and so challenging.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all wore hats. Even us as drummers, we'd set
Yeah.
up our equipment. There were times where the ball boys wouldn't be there, or they had to go do something else, so we would catch rebounds during pregame shoot around and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I remember Chris grabbing me one time when I didn't have anything to do at that point, and he used me because they were running a drill, and he goes, "Can you stand here as a person to run around?" And I remember doing that. It is just, that's one of the cool things. We talk about this a lot, is how great minor league sports are, with like everybody wears different hats and stuff, and how close you all become as a family about,
sure.
And that's why, we've all been close enough that we've had almost every position of the Mad Ants staff on this podcast,
Right.
because we were all family and we've all helped and supported each other, and it's great.
And I think that the great thing about that is the carryover. At least what I see on my end, Cam Smolinski, Allison Link, I talk to them all the time. Jim Shovlin, Nick Gamble, I talk to a lot. Tim Ballman, Chris Taylor, CT, and I are still incredibly close. We see each other as often as we can. Right after I left the organization last fall, he invited me down to coach during open tryouts, because I coach basketball. So I got a chance to go back, I think, 3 weeks after I left and go coach in open tryouts. And those relationships are so valuable. And I've had several jobs, and I don't talk to hardly anybody from those jobs, but the Mad Ants people, it may not be as regular as we want, but I think that we all still try to reach out and communicate. I talked to Ron Howard earlier today, just
Nice.
catching up.
Nice.
Just Ron and I catching up, and we hadn't seen each other since this last season when I went down to watch a couple games. So I think that is such a unique, like you said, Kevin, part of minor league sports. And in this situation, the G League, is those connections are long lasting. And And I'll say this about the G League: I don't think it's just within teams. Sean Wyatt from the Charge, who was there, for lack of a better term, PR guy. He, I think, wore more hats than anybody else in the G League. The Charge were our first home game when I took over the job, and Sean was so valuable for me to learn from. And Justin Trujillo, who used to be at the Greensboro Storms, now with USA Basketball, my first game was a road game at Greensboro. So those guys who were so valuable, we stay in touch, we talk to each other. Even now, even after I've left the team, Sean was one of my first calls or texts I got when it started going around that I was no longer with the team. So I think those connections throughout the entire league, and not just within a team, individual team structure, are so unique.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I know that when the move happened, there felt like everybody texted everybody, basically saying how fun it was, and we won't get into that on here, but like, it was, and that the ending that was tough because you felt like you were losing your family. But like you
Yeah.
said, it's been great. I mean, you and I still text. You
Yeah.
texted me after it was either Colin or Chris, or actually might have been after both, saying,
I think it was after both. Yeah.
yeah, after how much you enjoyed those episodes. And
Yeah.
First off, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
But
watching.
yeah, and thanks for hopping on. But like, those relationships are great. And like you said, I still text Chris all the time. Happy birthday, great win last night, stuff like that. He's texted me about stuff, and it's been really good. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you miss most about it?
I think two things I will say. Number one, I miss the grind. And I know that was a Mad Ants Chris Taylor catchphrase. They still use it. They'll still use it as the Noblesville Boom. Embrace the grind. But man, it was such a challenge, and it was such a unique job. It was never boring. Working for the Mad Ants, working in the G League was never boring, not at one point ever. And so I miss that, because while any job, and the job I have now is strenuous at times, and there's a lot of learning curve and things to do there, nothing I did before or since compares to what a normal week was in the G League. So I missed that tremendously. I would say the next biggest thing is the people. And it goes back to what I've talked about the whole time. The guys were such sensational people to work with. The basketball side, uh, beyond our office side, but from Chris and Tim Brown, the assistant GM, and Tom Hankins and his staff, all everybody he had on staff over the years, the changing of the teams, and that camaraderie. I went down to a couple games last year just to be able to see them, and to have Kyle Mangus and Quentin Jackson and Cam McGriff, be excited to see me, Steph Hicks, and those relationships, I think I miss more than anything else. And I still have a lot of them, Justin Anderson and I talk quite a bit. He's in Dubai playing now. Pedro Bradshaw and I talk quite a bit. But those relationships and being around them in that environment, it was just, I don't want to oversell it, but it was electric,
Yeah. No. And I mean, that one of the cool things that we talk about all the time is like, we got to know players on a personal level, and you don't really get that at any profession, like top tier level. You don't get to know the players. Like, I'm sure the High Octane Drumline have not really gotten to interact closely with the Pacers organization. But dang it, we had dinner at Mad Ants night at the Pacers game where Gabe and I talked the last year there, and Justin Anderson would always come over and tell us, like that. And Steph over the years was fantastic. Like,
amazing.
I love Steph. And
Don't forget Walt though.
Walt Lemon Jr. Walt Lemon Jr. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
One of the most humble people I think
Yes.
I've ever met. 100%.
So a quick Walt story and a fun full circle thing is, so before I was with the Mad Ants, I worked for the News Sentinel, and Fort Wayne newspapers had courtside seats. So every now and then, the family and I, we would go. My son, who's 19 now, was probably 9-ish at the time, 10. and we're courtside, and Walt started passing the ball, and then Aiden would pass the ball back to Walt so he could shoot it. And it was a fun little interaction. My wife loved Walt from that point on. And then fast forward to me working with the team, and Walt wants to get in the gym pre-game, but we couldn't use the Coliseum, so we had to go to the Ash Center. So I go to the Ash Center to let him in. My son at this point is one of our team attendants. So I take him with me, and so he spends an hour at the gym rebounding and shooting with Walt while he's 16 years old. And it's a full
So cool.
circle, and
Yeah.
Walt was just always such a tremendous personable human being that just cared deep down, loved Fort Wayne, loved being a Mad Ant, and it was so enjoyable to be around. Even though when I met him, when I started, he wasn't even around when I first started because his twin daughters were being born. So he was in California. I think I only did one game in Fort Wayne with Walt before COVID. So for him to come back when he came back during our 15th anniversary season, and immediately click with me, a guy he had met twice,
Yep.
and be so personable and be so great and be so great to my family. I always love Walt for that.
So one of our first Mad Ants nights, we were down, and they had us eat. It was right after the St. Vincent Center opened. They had us eating, and Walt walks up, looks at tables with all of the players, and looks at our table full of drummers and goes, "Can I sit with you guys?" And puts his plate down and sat there and ate with us, and he just thanked us continuously for everything we did. And then fast forward to when he played for the Windy City Bulls,
Mhm.
Yeah.
looking at us like,
I dropped 40 on you guys.
Yeah.
He didn't,
Yeah.
but yeah,
He was close.
yeah.
He had like 25 points.
But he still he still positively interacted with us, and he looked over at us one time on the bench when he was playing for the Bulls and goes, "Hey guys, can you take it easy on me tonight? Don't take it easy on these guys because it's your job, but old time's sakes." And we're like, "Sorry, bud,
Can't do it.
you're wearing the wrong colors."
Sorry.
and you tell that story about Walt, and it's one of the
Yeah.
things that I loved the most about a lot of players is the guys that understood how important every aspect of the organization was. And you guys, the cheerleaders, what Colin did, and there we had so many guys that appreciated that. I talked about meeting Miles Turner in Summer League for the first time. The first time I was really around him, we were out whole team dinner. So all the players that are there in the Summer League, all the office staff that is there, everybody that came with the Pacers is at dinner at the steakhouse. Miles comes, he drinks coffee the whole time and spends 10, 15 minutes at every table. So I'm at a table with PR people and social media people, and Joe Smith, who's the head of security for the Pacers, has been there forever. But even he comes to our table and he interacts and he talks because people like that appreciate everything that goes into what makes the product at the end of the day. And so for people for Walt to, do that with you guys, for Miles to do that when I first met him, I think it means the world that people appreciate every aspect, big, small, medium. They understand that it takes everybody to make the greater good. And it's so hard to find at a professional sports level. Obviously, you see it more in minor league sports, but I really appreciate those type of people. And those two were far from the only ones that did. But it's great to see that. And it's great to hear stories like Walt doing that and coming to sit with the drummers.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. And I mean, down to, he's not like you said, he's not the only one. We've had Gabe, like we've said, Gabe and Justin. I so many, I can't even think off the top of my head, like that have done that, but we got personal with all of them. And I mean, as your job, and I think you've touched on this a little bit, being as big of a basketball fan as you are, how hard was it for you to keep things as professional as you did, versus, oh man, like you played for Duke.
Yeah.
How'd you balance that with your job?
I think that it's just getting past that initial awe factor, which there was at times, even going down this last year and watching the team and getting to meet Jahlil Okafor, who's a Duke guy. And I think that you get past that initial, like, oh, okay, aspect of things. And I don't think it was too terrible. It would be fun at times to balance that with, my son, who's a big fan. This past year, I got to go down to a game and take one of my current players where I coach currently down to a game, and we're walking from the court afterwards through the famous white tunnel where they take their pictures with CT to go up to the office, and Tyrese Halliburton walks by and talks to CT and I, and this kid's like, that's just Tyrese Halliburton. My son had been down there with me, and Buddy Hield got on the elevator with us, and he's just looking at me. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, it happens, man. It's
Another day at the office.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. So it's weird that you do kind of become numb to it. In a lot of aspects, obviously the John Stocktons make it stand out. Duke players for me, obviously was a big deal, but you do kind of get numb to it after a while, just because you know that you have to be professional. So like, there's no reason, you might be like a little kid on the inside for some of these guys, but on the outside, it really wasn't that hard to contain once I started getting real used to that.
Yeah. Well, Colin and I had a really cool moment. We went down to Pacers Fan Jam one year, and the random pod of players that we got to get our photo with had Goga Batadze and Alize Johnson, and we
Yeah.
knew Alize from working with the Mad Ants. And what was hilarious is Domantas Sabonis was the main player in that one, and we didn't really interact with him like everybody else did. I mean, we interacted a little bit. Goga hadn't been with the Mad Ants yet.
Okay.
But so we really gravitated towards Alize, and Alize's like, why'd you guys come down here? And we're like, we came down for Fan Jam. We're just excited that we get to see a friend, not like that. And it was just really weird to watch Goga, because he was their first round draft pick, and Sabonis both kind of looked like surprised that they weren't the focal point of that photo, that it was, and all of the Pacers media handlers were like, what?
What's going on?
And that's so cool, because those players that, quote unquote, came down to the Mad Ants, they earned that appreciation for the people and those relationships. And, I think that I had a good time with basically everybody that they sent down at one point. We got to see Goga. It was a road trip to Grand Rapids I happened to be on. That was the only time he came down during my tenure, but he was down. Chris Duarte was with the team on rehab assignments.
Yep, I remember that.
Any of the two ways, Cassius Stanley and Brian Bowen, Jalen LeCue was on assignment in the bubble. All those guys, Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, my last year as rookies, just embracing the people and what it meant. And obviously, even at that point, it different being the Indiana Mad Ants, and so it was so much smaller, but they still appreciated the moment and everything that went into it, and fully engulfed themselves in being a Mad Ant for the night. And I think that's something that's really cool.
I think it's really cool seeing what's his name on the you said his name and it just whiffed right over my head. He was a two-way player for the Mad Ants, and he was actually on the finals floor this past season for the
Shepherd?
Pacers. Ben Shepherd, yes.
Ben Shepherd, yeah.
Ben Shepherd, yeah. I just think that's the coolest thing ever, once you get used to watching a guy on a Mad Ants floor and then you see him on an NBA Finals floor. It's just like,
yeah.
Super
And
cool.
it's really exciting, especially we had several guys last year. O'Shea Brissett won a title with the Celtics the year before. Was great to see. It really is oddly, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, oddly rewarding for people that didn't have anything to do with how they got there, but like to see them there. I remember that first season back from COVID, we had 28 different people play for the Mad Ants that season. A lot. But we got to see so many, like, Kiefer Sykes finally making it to the NBA and getting that moment. And Nate Hinton got his call up. And Justin Anderson got a couple. And Gabe York got to go up at the end of the year. And just, special experiences to see that happen. Even though, you guys, we didn't have anything to do with them getting there. But it felt very rewarding in those moments, to see them succeed and see them have, especially a guy like O'Shea to win a title. It was really cool.
Did you text him that night?
I did text O'Shea that night. And what I'll say is, I don't text a lot of these guys a ton, but every now and then, other than like Justin and Pedro, we talk quite a bit. I talked to Gabe York a little bit this summer during the TBT. His team he was on made the finals of the TBT, and Pedro and Terry Taylor were on that team. And Bryce Taylor, who's going into his third year as an assistant coach with the team, coached them. So I talked to Gabe some during that, but yeah, they're always good. They always respond, so it's great to hear from them.
So Dan, what's your favorite of all the stadiums you've been to? What's your favorite stadium food?
Ooh, stadium food. They had a pulled pork sandwich at where the G League Ignite played in Henderson, Nevada. It's where the Silver Knights, the minor league affiliate of the Golden Knights, play in that same venue. They had a pulled pork sandwich that was up there with anything that I've had on the road. As far as stadium food, now the benefit of traveling is getting to try so many unique foods at different restaurants. And for that, it's absolutely the trip to Maine. Whatever you wanted there that had lobster in it. Going to Maine was my favorite trip when it came food wise, but stadium wise, I would say in Henderson where the Ignite played.
I have a feeling.
Well, lucky for you, there's a place about 15 minutes away that has delicious pizza.
So we talk about this every time, and so the Ice House, Parkview Sports Medicine's Ice House, has a bar upstairs, and Ryan will just rave about the pizza every time. So now we have a new segment anytime we visit a stadium where Ryan will try something and compare it to the Ice House's pizza. So
I like it. I coach right next door at PSM Fieldhouse a lot of times. I'll have to
see there you go.
The
Just
Ice House
slide right over.
Pepperoni
and sausage. You're good to go. So in another question, Dan. So I know you did a lot of PR. So I know you maybe won't be able to use names. So what is like the worst PR nightmare you had to handle?
Ooh, intriguing. So luckily, not that many.
That's good.
I would say on the surface, we had a player who was very temper laden, had a bad temper, lost it a lot, publicly in games sometimes. That was always interesting to try to decipher what level of cleanup. It never got terrible, never got way out of control, but great guy. I won't use a name. But you guys know when I was there. It won't be hard to figure out, probably.
I think I already know who it is.
Tremendous person. Loved him. Great guy to be around. Great guy to work with. Just lost his temper sometimes. We did have a player at one point, again, won't be named, on a flight that the flight attendant kept telling him to tuck his elbow in from the aisle. And he wasn't happy with her. And so he started mumbling some things, and it was kind of like, oh, please don't. It was before we took off. And I'm like, please don't say it louder, because they're going to kick you off this plane, and I'm going to have to go with you, because it's not going to be good if you get kicked off this plane. So nothing ever got too bad, but there were definitely some moments where I'm like, oh, here we go. This is when it's going to get interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good. You haven't had any horror stories.
Yeah,
so
no.
It's a shame you weren't on staff when we about had our media thing and about getting thrown out of a G League game because the ref didn't know the rule book.
Yep.
Have we told you this story?
I don't know this story, no.
Boy.
Okay, so we were playing the Greensboro Swarm, and their head coach got mad because we were playing up at Trine University.
Okay, yeah.
We were even closer to the bench than we are at our boat. So, because you know how, it's not a small college gym, but it's smaller than the Coliseum.
Compared to the Coliseum,
yeah.
Well, compared to the Coliseum, there's some boom.
So he complained. He complained that we were playing actual songs, which was against the rule book, that we couldn't play songs. And I'm like, we have drums. We can't play. And so the ref came over and told us to play quieter.
Oh.
And I'm like, so we are literally playing about this far from the head, and we're still playing, and the ref told us to stop playing at that point. We then get, like, not knowing what was going on. Like, I'm not saying anything about Tim. Tim didn't know what was going on. It was like, hey, guys, why aren't you playing? And it was like, well, we got told this. And he goes, oh, you must have misunderstood. Keep it going. So the ref came over and told us to stop. And Tim's like, oh, I'll go talk to him. Keep playing. So then the head of Steve, the head of security, came over and goes, guys, I don't want to have to throw you out. They are threatening to throw you out of this game. I don't want to stop playing. And so we had to, and Tim was like, hey guys, sorry. Let's just call it a quits tonight. And needless to say, I read the rule book. I read all of it. And I did not find anything that said we were breaking the rules. So,
to my knowledge, you were absolutely not. So.
Yeah.
I probably have read that rule book more than some other people on the staff, because I was like, I'm going to look. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I at least know the game day operations end of that rule book really well. Somewhere in my email, I still have the digital copy that Tim sent me, because he and I both combed through it, and it was like, nope, we didn't do anything wrong. We did see, like, 3 games later, one of the guys that was on that crew, not the head official, but the one that was on that crew, I saw pull Steve over, point to us, and make the drumming motion. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Here we go again.
And I walked up to Steve, and I'm like, are we getting in trouble again? He goes, oh no, he asked if about it, and I said that you guys had read the rule book and were following the rules, and he goes, okay, and didn't ask another question. So that was the end of it.
That's par for the course there. You know,
one of my... Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I have never seen a coach or a head official so mad in my entire life when it came to that game, because the coach was bald and his entire head was just red.
Yep.
You can see oh my gosh. Have you ever seen Inside Out with the red angry guy? That's exactly what he looked like.
That's amazing.
So,
that's
nice
amazing.
It was great.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, the one I remember the most with an official was at the Coliseum. It was between the third and fourth quarter, so we were doing the ball toss. But there was a review at the end of the quarter. So the referees are at the table, and everybody's throwing balls. And at this point, the referees are there. People are throwing the balls at the referees.
Heck
yeah, 100%. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys probably get it.
Yeah, probably.
And with the
we
lead
didn't
official,
have them.
you would have thrown something else. It's fine. The lead official, so mad, looks at Jim Shovelin and says, "Get on that microphone and tell him to stop throwing." And it's like, well, we're doing a promotion. That's not going to happen. Duck down while you watch the monitor. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Like Jim just looked at her like, yeah, I'm absolutely not going to do that. But that was one of my fun referee moments when it comes to them trying to be, a little overbearing.
Yeah. I'm going to miss Jim Shovelin, man.
Jim is great. It was, I think, one of the bigger adjustments for me when we became the Indiana Mad Ants and we were in Indianapolis full time, was not hearing the Mad Ants basketball chant. Which, fun fact, for you guys, I don't know if you've ever heard the story, the Pacers absolutely did not want Jim to do that. The guy that did the PA before him started that Mad Ants basketball. And so the original guy, I don't know him, derived that from the Detroit Pistons, who their PA guy went Detroit basketball. And so the Pacers, when they bought the team, were not real thrilled, I guess. Again, I wasn't around, but we're not real thrilled with that call. But so synonymous with the Fort Wayne Mad Ants and Jim Shovelin. We actually had Jim record some stuff before we went to the bubble because to treat them like home games. So he recorded everybody's names. So when the starting lineups played, it was Jim's voice. That's the Mad Ants win. And then we had the Mad Ants basketball. So now it was up to the people down there to actually cue it.
Right.
When it needed to be cued, but to be able to even hear that in the bubble, because it was just such a synonymous voice and call from Fort Wayne Mad Ants games.
Man, we should have
He's
recorded
my
our,
idol.
our drum
If I'm
parts.
ever, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Dylan. What'd you say?
I was just saying we should have recorded some of our drum grooves.
We
and
should
had
have.
them.
We really
Yeah,
should have.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know why they
not
didn't
like
take...
we weren't sponsored by Sweetwater that
We
could have
could've.
recorded
Yeah.
all of our stuff.
Yeah.
Easily.
Or they could have sent you guys to the bubble.
That
Oh,
would've been
that
cool.
too. That would have
Yeah.
been
That would've been
great.
nice.
That would have been nice. But Jim Shovelin is just will always be in my head, being always that guy who calls out Mad Ants games no
Yep.
matter what.
Yep,
Yep.
always.
If I ever decide to do what he does, he's my idol at doing that stuff. 100%.
And still doing it well, doing St. Francis games, and
Oh, okay.
and he still does a lot of that now, and is fully retired from his day job now, so he's still fully involved with that. Still hosts his Saturday morning radio show, and so that's always great that Jim's voice and such a unique voice is still out there in the Fort Wayne sports world.
Nice. I had no idea he was working with St. Francis. I might have to go to a game.
Yeah. No, I mean, Fort Wayne has been fortunate to have some very iconic voices.
Yes.
We've had Shane Albarani with the Comets, Jim's iconic, and it's a good thing. So I do want to ask, what's one of the funniest moments you've ever gotten to witness? Do like players play pranks on each other or anything like that? Any fun like behind the scenes stories like that?
Not too many. I'm trying to remember who it was even on. They did in Indianapolis in the locker room, when that trend was going around, people walking around the corner and somebody has a mini hoop and get dunked on. I want to say it was on Isaiah Wong. But those kind of things were always funny. They were lighthearted with each other, but I don't know that there were too many pranks, at least that I was privy to. But yeah, funny moments. God, I some of them were probably from I thought maybe even unintentionally funny. David Ostervitas, when he played for us, was just almost unintentionally funny all the time, because there was such a cultural divide from a guy who was in Lithuania until I think maybe a year or two before he played for us. And so there's cultural divide and the funny moments, and when he would cuss people out quite a bit in his native language. So those were always funny moments when the guys would stop him. We actually did in the Winter Showcase in Vegas that year. We did a mic'd up during a practice with Justin Anderson, and it's one of my favorite unused clips because we couldn't use it. And where Justin goes up to him, he's like, "What did you just say in your native language?" It was the B word. David Oss says it to him, and Justin just cracks up. And so, like, just unintentionally funny because David Oss was just like doing his thing, and his cultural was so different. And so as people figured out, or he figured out why what he was doing was weird, I think that some of those moments were unintentionally really funny, but nothing too over the top.
All right. Well, we are hitting the end. We do, as I always say, close with a closing question. So tonight, what is your favorite Mad Ants memory? And that can go for all of us. So, Dylan, you want to go first?
Okay. I don't know. I think coming from not being a part of any type of sports thing, and that first game that we had when we were up in the nosebleed section, very high up
in
there
the corner,
in the corner, and I coming from IPFW where we were just very obnoxious when we were chanting and stuff. And then you guys were very, very quiet, and all of a sudden, me being the quiet person I am, when I get into a sports event, I get loud. And yeah, so it was just really fun to be able to do that again and get paid to do it. Like, it was a no-brainer. You know what I mean? That's probably why I loved it so much, and why it hurt so much when they left.
Yep. All right, Ryan?
Well, I went to probably a total of 4 Mad Ant games in my life.
Thanks to me, though, you got those tickets.
Yeah, it was always Colin, like, "Hey, I got you want tickets for a night?" I'm like, "Sure." Well, yeah, I mean, so it was, just getting to go into the Coliseum, enjoying the basketball atmosphere. Like, to be fair, I coached wrestling, so I didn't have time to go to Mad Am's games.
Yeah.
I was coaching
Yeah.
6 days a week. So, but no, it was a good atmosphere. Always a fun time.
Oh, probably when I had Giannis's brother call me a not so nice word one time. That's probably
which brother? I'm curious because one of them had a reputation.
It wasn't Vance's. It was
the
other
one
one.
that
It was Raptor 9. He was on the Raptor 905.
Costas?
Yes. Yep.
Or Alex? Alex was the most recent. Alex was the one that was there towards the end that was really young. He was like 19 years
yeah.
away.
Yeah, it was Alex then. 100%.
He had a little bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did tell him he would never be as good as Giannis, but
it's
but
not.
you know,
I mean,
You
naturally.
did a lie.
Just trying to be honest with him.
right.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know we were still in elementary school calling each other names like this."
He missed a free throw, and we reminded him that his brother would be very ashamed of him, which is what we did to every brother that
Yeah, right.
came.
Yeah, we
you're
also
not,
saw
you're not unique, man. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
we also saw DeMarcus Cousins' brother play too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool as well. Sorry, I'm done.
You're good. I'd have to say mine would have to be first off, just getting the access that we did. But as far as fun moments, it had to be when we figured out that the G League app was very quick to update. So we had live stats sitting in front of us. And when I would remind somebody when they were below 50% from shooting from the line, especially when you mixed in our free throw gong, our missed free throw gong, I loved the reactions that we got of encouraging these players that let them know they needed to get their free throw percentage be above a failing grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the best times is when the guy came back for missing 2 free throws and sat on the bench. He was having a really bad game.
Yeah.
And then the bench looked over at us and like, "Guys, stop. Seriously."
I think he was
They were
crying.
trying to tell us to stop haggling him, and
They asked very nicely, and
they did ask very nicely.
I have a feeling you didn't stop.
No.
Maybe for like a minute, and then as soon as he touched the floor again, we brought it back. So
Yeah.
All right, but Dan, what about you?
For me, it was one of the coolest things I got an opportunity to do in my wear different hat roles is, especially the last couple of years, I got to design or be part of the design conversation on all of our theme jerseys. So that's one of the reasons why I keep this picture, other than the fact it's, Gabe looking tough, is, that was our 15th anniversary season jersey. It was one of the first ones I designed, fully designed. So that was cool to me, is to go from the conceptual part where I'm mocking something up in Photoshop and just, here's something I want to see, and then working with OT Sports, it was based out of North Carolina, and getting them done to seeing them on the court. This one was one of my favorites. The last year we were in Fort Wayne, we had a 260 night. We wore 260 jerseys. That was one of mine too. And so it was one of those wow factors outside of the people I was around. Was, okay, I'm designing jerseys that they're wearing in professional basketball games. Like, it was just cool. Like, of course, why not? Why wouldn't I be doing that? So for me, I think that is hands down one of the coolest things for the Mavs for me was being able to design jerseys and see them wear them on the court.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You also designed the Justin Anderson bobblehead, didn't you?
I did. The bobbleheads were a great thing. Justin Anderson and the Steph Hicks bobblehead we did, to be involved with those guys the whole time. Right down to the pictures we were sending the company for reference points, specific things they wanted versus didn't want. Justin Anderson, one of the main things was his bobblehead, the green shoes, because he wore the Kobe Grinches all the time. And so we talked about, that detail. He's like, how can we make it more me? And to be able to get those details down and to, I think, great bobbleheads to be able to be part of. And that Justin Anderson bobblehead is phenomenal. He had one other before that in his career with the Dallas Mavericks. Didn't look like him at all. And I thought that one turned out great. So designing those and working with Steph and Justin, and I'll always say one of the things I hate the most is when they moved the team, we lost our ability to do the bobblehead we were going to do for the next season. So it was going to be a Gabe York bobblehead where he
Ooh.
was half Gabe York, but then like arm and stuff like was going to be like fire because they started calling him the Human Torch that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a Trevlin Queen quote in a press conference after a game called Gabe a Torch, and then the G League picked it up and we used it on our social media and it took off. So we were going to do a Gabe York, without using the term Human Torch because we couldn't, but Gabe
Right.
York like torch bobblehead where like he's shooting his arms on fire, and so I was excited to do that one that we didn't get to do, but those were also really cool.
Yeah, Tim actually was talking to us about using one of our photos. We had Colin, well, it wasn't Colin, it was one of our guys in Colin's costume, sit behind at a halftime show play, and we had a picture of the Mad Ant going like behind the drum set, and we were going to have like the cymbals move and stuff.
That would be cool. That'd be so cool.
That one never got into production. But no, I remember you telling me, didn't you tell Justin he wasn't allowed to change the shoes, that they had to be the Grinches?
Yeah. Once we talked about it, he would hit me back with details a lot. And the great thing about Justin being so involved is when we planned that and designed it and went all in motion with that, he was not planning on coming back for a second season. He was going to look overseas or hoping the NBA was going to work out. So we didn't even know we were going to have him the season we did those bobbleheads. So he was so involved when he didn't even know that he was going to be back. But yeah, we talked about that. I was like, yeah, we're not. The Grinches are so iconic with you. We're not.
Yep.
We're not coming off those.
Yep.
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan. Do you have anybody you'd like to shout out?
No, I as far as that, people who I probably haven't mentioned enough to point out how, for me, great the leadership was with the Mad Ants. My time there, it was such a amazing opportunity, and that was thanks to Tim Ballman, Chris Taylor, Tom Hankins. The three of them I consider good friends. I spent a lot of great time with Chris and Tom when we were on the road. On road trips I would go on, but they became such great friends. But they all were so important to me in my profession and my personal life. And again, we talked about it nonstop, that those relationships are what move it. But if I haven't mentioned the three of them enough, they were so integral in my entire time. Tom Hankins had never had a PR guy because he came from college where he's worked with SIDs. And so we get to the bubble. I'm new, essentially, and he's never had that. And the trust he put in me, the ability to ask me for things, the fact that if he needed info or a stat, I could provide it immediately. I'm kind of a stat geek, so I know all that kind of stuff. Same with CT. If a record got broken or was tied or something that he needed to acknowledge immediately post the game or anything, he knew I had it. So, but it was their trust in me, I think, that made me be able to do the job I did as effectively as I did. So for Tim Ballman and Chris Taylor and Tom Hankins, they were everything during my time with the Mad Ants.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for hopping on. Thanks everybody for watching. Let us know if you want to see anything else, any other guests, or any other stories from Dan. We'll try to get them for you. Put them in the comments below. But in the meantime, Colin, what do we say?
Oh, we can cue the music.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
See you guys.